R-Type was one of the first games I ever got for my Sega Master System, and it went on to be one of my all-time favourite games ever on Sega's brilliant 8-bit console, which has led to a lifelong love of the series and all its different sequels ever since. In fact, the first game I ever played on MAME when I first got it working for the very first time was R-Type 2, but I absolutely bloody loved the Master System version back in the day. It was an absolutely cracking port of Irem's genre-defining horizontally scrolling shoot-'em-up, an arcade game I only played for the first time after getting my teeth stuck into the SMS port, having only ever played a demo version of the game on the ZX Spectrum before this. To this day, it still remains one of my favourite side-scrolling shoot-'em-ups ever. I always loved my old Master System version of it, but it wasn't without a few issues, despite being an otherwise brilliant port by Compile. There was quite a lot of sprite flicker, as well as some quite noticeable slowdown at times when the screen got really busy, and the sprites were noticeably a bit smaller and less detailed than its arcade big brother. After I eventually upgraded from the 8-bit Master System to the 16-bit Megadrive a couple of years later, I was always super disappointed that we never got any R-Type games on it, unlike those jammy Super Nintendo owners who got two. I'd have loved to have seen what a Megadrive arcade port would have looked, played and sounded like back then. Well, I need wonder no longer. Just like the fan-made Megadrive Final Fight and Shinobi ports that are in development at the moment, a gent called Andrea Balderaghi, and I apologise in advance if I've just absolutely mangled the pronunciation of your surname there, Andrea, aka the RoboZ, has taken matters into his own hands and started to port R-Type to the Megadrive himself. And I have been fortunate enough to be given access to a demo version of it by Andrea, slightly ahead of the demo's public release. And wow, what an incredible job he's done with it so far. It really does look on a par with the arcade original. I went back and played through the first stage of the arcade version in MAME after this, and it's amazing how closely all the enemy patterns and everything have been perfectly replicated. And the fact that there's no sprite flicker at all in this Megadrive version is incredible. There were just a couple of little things I noticed that seemed a little tiny bit different. For example, normally the ring here shouldn't keep shooting at you after you've blown it up. Also, for some reason, blowing up the ring with a charged shot seemed to be a lot harder to do than when I play the normal arcade game. I mean, these really are just nitpicky little differences I'm picking up here, and really aren't anything to lose any sleep over. Plus, this is still a work in progress version of the game. One other little thing I noticed was that your force bit, the shield that you get in front of your ship when you pick up the power-up crystals, didn't seem to behave in quite the same way as it normally does when encountering the Stage 1 boss, or to give him his proper name, Dobekatrops. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Normally my go-to tactic when facing him in the Sega Master System version is just to shoot the force bit into that little green guy that pops out of his stomach, and then the force bit just stays in there, damages him, and eventually he dies. And this is my usual tactic that works in the arcade version as well. But in this Megadrive port, I just couldn't get the force bit to stay in there. It just didn't want to seem to stick onto the little green fella. And this was the case in each of my playthroughs. Now, as I said earlier, I really am just being a little bit pedantic here and a bit nitpicky in what is still a work in progress version of the game. But the force bit not behaving exactly as it does in the arcade definitely makes taking Dobekatrops out a little bit more difficult. Other than that though, this really does look, play and sound just like you are playing the actual proper arcade version. It's incredibly impressive for a fan-made project. The demo lets you play through 3 stages in the game and allows you to swap between the arcade original soundtrack and a new arranged version. There's also a music player in there that lets you listen to the new Megadrive arrangements of the old classic arcade tunes. Interestingly, it's actually got some of the music for the stages which haven't been featured in the demo. I really like this Megadrive-y, beefy sounding version of the Stage 3 music. Let's just have a quick listen to it. Yeah boy, that is excellent, love it. There are some additional options that let you change things like the screen size, the number of lives that you've got, the way the ship respawns after you die, and also the game's difficulty. There's also an option that lets you change your craft to a prototype version of the one from R-Type Leo that didn't use the force bits that you get in the regular R-Type games. Selecting this craft lets you shoot the power-up crystals, changing their effect on the fly. This is a pretty cool extra feature. Something that is also very cool here is that Andrea has also included a bonus feature from the Sega Master System version. Compile added a secret bonus stage that wasn't in any other version of the game, which is what you can see here in the background, taken from an old video I uploaded of the Master System's secret stage years and years ago. This secret stage had its own unique stage design, boss and music. And Andrea has created a 16-bit rendition of it, which is really quite awesome to see. It's really amazing to see people taking on these sorts of projects and creating their own 16-bit versions of games that would have given major publishers a run for their money back in the day. Massive thanks again to Andrea for giving me access to the demo, and as soon as it gets publicly released, I'd highly recommend tracking down a copy of it if you're a massive R-Type fan like me.
3, 2, 1, let's go!
I'm going to add some links to Andrea's Twitter and YouTube channels in the video description that you can click on to find out more about this awesome project and keep up to date with what's going on with it. If you are a massive R-Type fan, one last thing I just want to quickly add is that you should check out an ebook you can download for free called It's Behind You, The Making of a Computer Game. It's written by a guy called Bob Pape, who I've mentioned a couple of times in some of my other videos, and he ported the original arcade version to the ZX Spectrum back in the 1980s, and it went on to be regarded as one of the greatest arcade ports ever to the good old Specky back then. It's a really fascinating insight into what life was like as an 8-bit microcomputer coder back then. I'm going to shut my pie hole now and let you watch me do a playthrough of the 3-level demo. Just to mess with people's sense of OCD though, I'm starting from stage 8, which then loops around to stage 1, and then onto the SMS secret stage. Now, there is actually a little ending that happens when you finish the 3-stage loop here, but I'm not going to spoil that for you. I'll let you discover that for yourself when you play the demo. Anyway, I have been Mr. Thundering, and this is all from me on the R-Type front. I will catch you again sometime soon. Cheerio!